So, Dailymotion. So first, my name is Magnus. It's not very French, especially if you look on the family name side of it. And that's because I'm Swedish and not really French. But I do live in France. I live in Paris. Dailymotion, that's their website, www.dailymotion.com. If you never heard of it, you can go there and check it out. So, Dailymotion. So maybe there are some guys here now that are thinking, what on earth is Dailymotion? I've never heard of that. Should I know what it is? So as Sean mentioned, Dailymotion is an online video platform. And it's really two things. One thing is a destination. So if you want to watch great content, you go to Dailymotion either on the web, in the native applications, any kind of TV, Android TV, Apple TV, anywhere, consoles, and to watch music. And you typically find content from 4 different verticals. So music, sports, news, and entertainment. But it's also another thing. It's an online video platform for publishers, which is more on the tech side. So instead of publishing your content on dailymotion.com, you can also use our solutions to store your content, stream your content, and visualize your content using our video player on your premises. So if you, as a newspaper, you want to, in an article, put a nice player showing something in addition to the text, you can use our solution for end-to-end streaming of that around the world. And today, that's actually the bigger part of Dailymotion. More than 60% of our audience is coming from outside Dailymotion, but it's using our technology solution more than the destination. But when you use our video player, we always republish the content on dailymotion.com. So you will always find all content, both off-site embedded in our player, but also on-site on dailymotion.com. But to do this kind of platform for publishers, you need a lot of things. So first of all, they need something to manage their content. So they need to be able to upload their content through an API, through different injectors, manually through a UI. You will probably want to know what's happening with your content. You need advanced insights. You want to know who's watching my content, where are they watching my content, what time of the day do they watch my content, how engaged are the users that are watching my content, and a lot of other things. And finally, in there, you probably want to know what kind of money do I make from my content? Because in the end, what we do is that everything is ad-funded. So when you watch content, occasionally you will get an ad, and from that ad, we will share the revenue with the publisher that uploaded the content. And finally, we want to simplify as much as possible for the publishers. So either they can use our player solution, it's basically just one line of code you're going to embed in a website, or they can use our SDKs for any kind of native applications to embed the player inside a native app. So to give you some of the history of this company, so it was founded in 2005, roughly at the same time as YouTube, just a couple of months after. It's a French company, was founded in Paris. After a couple of years, in 2009, the French government said, okay, this is pretty interesting. It was one of the early startups in France. They invested some money. And in 2011, Orange, or France Télécom, acquired Dailymotion. It took a couple of years. There were a number of other companies that were interested in buying Dailymotion, but the French government always said no. They said, no, we want to keep this company French. We don't want to sell it to the US. After a while, there were some companies from China that wanted to buy us, but in the same way, it was actually Emmanuel Macron, that is the president of France now, that went out in media and said, we really think you should reconsider and look for a European buyer instead. So then the Chinese company withdrew their offer, and in the end, we were acquired by Vivendi, which is a big media group. They own, for example, Universal Music, Canal+, Canal Studios, Havas, which is a big PR agency, and so on. So it's a big media house behind us. When they acquired us, we said we want to change the company a little bit. So in 2017, we re-released Dailymotion as a new product. And the big change in that product was that we wanted to shift, instead of focusing on user-generated content, we wanted to move more into the premium space and working with premium content only coming from trusted publishers that we have a good relationship with, and we know where the content is coming from. We know that the content has good quality. And that's what you will see on Dailymotion today if you go there. To give you some numbers, just to say a little bit where Dailymotion is. So today, we have around 3 billion video views every month. So people are watching a video either on Dailymotion, in our app, or in an embedded player online. We have typically around 300 million unique active visitors every month coming on the site, and around 150 million videos in the catalog. So it's a pretty big scale. We're available. We have offices in 5 different continents. So that's typically for content reasons. We want to have content from region for regional markets. So we need a presence more or less everywhere in the world. And the platform is today available in 20 different languages. If we look more a bit on the tech side, on our API today, we have around 250 million calls. We push in production very often, so we have continuous deployment. We push more or less in production every day, up to 50 times. As long as we have a small change to push, we push it directly. And if you see on the right side, you will see that it says 3.5 billion events collected via our player every day. And that is a massive amount of data. So basically what we collect from the player is everything around statistics to understand what is the quality that the user has at the moment, what is the resolution of the video, how many times did the video rebuffer, how much time did the rebuffering take, any kind of this information with, of course, a lot of different dimensions to understand what device is the user using, what internet service provider is he coming from, which country is he in, and so on, to understand. And all of this we can then use to optimize the experience for the users. But of course, we need to store this data somewhere. So today, we push the data into Google BigQuery that we use for our data lake. And I think we have roughly 2,000 terabytes of data. So it's a pretty massive amount of data that we then want to use. So the data we use, of course, internally for us, because we want to use it to optimize the streaming experience. But of course, it's something that our partners also want to use, because as I mentioned before, they want to understand who's watching their content, where do they watch the content, etc. And that's why we built something that we called Advanced Analytics for Partners. And I didn't put a slide of this, but the history of this project, the reason why we redid this part of the platform was that we had a Hadoop cluster. So that was created in 2013 when everyone said, oh, you should have a Hadoop cluster, you should build that, it's great. In 2017, we said, maybe not so great, maybe we should change it. So we decided to change the platform behind the Advanced Analytics. So Advanced Analytics for the partners is a statistics dashboard. We call it Advanced Stats, because if you put advanced in front of the stats, it sounds much better. So it's called Advanced Stats. What they can do in there is that they can first check their audience. They can check who is watching my video, where do they watch my video, what is the engagement, so the view-through rate of the video. Typically, if you see that users leave after 2% of a video, there is something wrong with your video. If they stay 80% on the video, then it probably is a good piece of content. So they can see everything around this kind of audience statistics. But of course, they can also check everything that has to do with monetization. Because when you display a video, you're going to generate one piece of inventory that you can sell to someone to put an ad. And that's interesting for the publishers. They want to understand who's buying my inventory, at what price do they buy my inventory, what countries do they buy my inventory, and so on, so that they can use that to optimize their business. So it's extremely important to all the publishers to have these kind of insights. So that's why we decided to rebuild this advanced analytics for the partners that we have in our partner space. And the way we did it, I think this is the first time we have an architecture diagram on the screen today. So we said we want to do something simple. So the first idea was, let's take the website, let's take an iframe, and we embed a Tableau dashboard in there. And the reason for that is what we wanted to be able to move fast. When we had a partner calling us and saying, could you add this dimension in here, could you add this little graph in here, and so on, we wanted to make it as simple as possible for us to update and push that into production. Or even in some cases where we wanted to make customized dashboards for specific partners. We said, okay, this is a good solution to go with Tableau. So we did that. We took Tableau, we connected it into Google BigQuery, and we said, yeah, this is great, but it was terribly slow in the end. So we looked at it and we said we need something else, and that's where we came into Exasol. So today, what you see here in this diagram, in the top thing, it's what you can say the real-time flow. So someone comes in on the partner space. There is an iframe. We're going to go to Tableau server. We're going to ask, can you give me this dashboard for this specific partner? From Tableau, we're going to query either Google BigQuery, because we do have some dashboards that are still running on Google BigQuery, or we're going to query Exasol to get the data. After that, the data goes back to Tableau, and then we push it over in the dashboard that we expose to the end user. In the bottom, you see how we actually load the data into Exasol. So everything today is now stored in a Google BigQuery. We have a job scheduler that is going to run, it's going to go fetch all the data from from BigQuery, and it's going to push it into Exasol from Google Big Cloud Storage, where we store all the aggregates. So it's going to go from the right to the left to finally end up in Exasol. And what happened when we did this, with and without Google BigQuery? So first time we tested it, it took around 45 to 60 seconds. Sounds okay if you're just going to look at a dashboard occasionally. You can probably wait 45 to 60 seconds. But typically when a partner from us is uploading a new video and they're putting it online, they're not going to want to wait 45 because they're going to sit there and hit the refresh button because they want to see how is my video performing. And when you hit the refresh button like that, 45 seconds is a pretty long time. So when we put Exasol in place, we managed to go down below 1 second, which is a complete change for the partners so they can see. Because some of the dashboards we have actually report live data, so you can see directly when you publish a video or when you have a live concert or live sports event, you can see the traffic coming in real time to see what's happening to the audience. And it's very important to have this kind of performance. So I think there are some techies here, so I also put a graph, because it's always nice with a graph. So what you see here on the left side is the average loading time from Exasol during April to the end of May. And you can see that we're typically around 200 milliseconds on the queries. We're always below 1 second. I think there was one peak early May there. I don't know what happened that day, but typically we're below 1 second in average, which is very good. If we put Tableau on top of this, it's going to be a little bit slower. And I put this graph here so we can see the difference, because there's one dashboard in there which is called Live in the top, where we see some very far values, and that dashboard is not using Exasol. So here we can see the difference without Exasol, where you have a loading time of 45, 48 seconds. I actually cut it to where it was going to 2 minutes in the end. And then with Exasol in the end, where we typically have a response time between 0 and 2 seconds, use end-to-end with Tableau on top of it, which is absolutely acceptable for the users. To give you some stats, so typically, as I said before, in the data lake, we have 2,200 terabytes of data. So we're not going to push all of that data into Exasol, because it's a lot of data, and it's going to be difficult to handle even in Exasol. I don't know, maybe you can handle that. We will see. But we don't push everything. We use it as a cache. So we push the hot data into Exasol. So we look in time and we say, let's take the data for the last 12 months or the last 24 months, and we push it in there. So typically, if you do a query and you want to have data for 3 years back or 4 years back, it might be a little bit slower. But what we see from the usage is that most people look for recent data. So it works really well as a cache. And today we have around 2.5 billion rows stored in the Exasol database. We update it either every 10 minutes, which is for live events. So it's not real time, it's near real time. You can see the data coming pretty fast. Or for the data with a bit more longer retention, we update it every hour to push it into the Exasol. And before I finish, I just want to give you a little bit of feedback about this project, how it was to implement it together with Exasol. So the first feedback from my point of view, that was the speed of this project. We started it in 2017. I think it was in September last year. We plugged everything together with Tableau and Google BigQuery. And we saw that, okay, this is not going to work, it's too slow. We looked at the market, what kind of companies that could help us. We found Exasol. And 2 weeks after that, we actually had a worker proof of concept. So it was amazing to see from just starting to look at a solution to actually have a working solution, showing you that this is going to work, this is going to perform as you want. So that was incredible. Then also I would like to say thank you to the tech team at Exasol, because they were very helpful. There was a very good collaboration. We had very fast response time. When we had a question, we sent an email, we called someone, we typically got an answer within hours. So we managed to move this project forward very fast. And we also got some help to create some loading scripts to move data from the Google Cloud Storage into Exasol. And Exasol even wrote those kind of scripts for us to be able to accelerate the delivery. The next step, and the only disadvantage, if I could put it like that I see at the moment, is that in our infrastructure, we typically have everything running on Linux, except one little cluster, and that's for Exasol, where it's running on Windows. So that's the only thing for the next step for us, is to be able to see if we can move this into a Linux environment instead, so that we can use the same team to manage the cluster. And the only thing I'm missing piece of that is that we need an Exasol connector for Linux from Tableau. But I understood that's actually on the way. I think it's in alpha status or beta or something, so it's going to come in a couple of months. We will be very happy about that. I think that was actually everything that I wanted to mention today, but I can take some questions if you have some questions around this.